Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about Nancy Pelosi's resignation, possibly caused by her insider trading. I also want to give you the true meaning behind the Gamestop report and touch on some of the key takeaways and how you can really make a difference. So stay tuned and let's make some money. But before I dive into the video, if you haven't already, be sure to sign up to Moomoo using the link down in the description below. You can get one free share worth up to $350 and a second free share with a guaranteed value of $56 on top of that. Moomoo also has free real-time level 2 market data, they have advanced charting tools, and 24/7 real-time up-to-date financial news so you can get all of your important news headlines. And now I want to dive straight in with the key information. So, let's first touch on the key takeaways from the Gamestop report, and I'll relate it back to a film, The Big Short. Have you seen The Big Short? Do you remember the scene where they were sitting inside the office with the ratings agency woman? This is where Mark Baum and his associates were sitting in the S&P office with the old lady that had just had laser eye surgery. And this is where we are, the point at which we are questioning why the system isn't defaulting as it should. We've done the due diligence, we know what's true, just like they did. The rating agencies, reporting agencies, and the SEC. While this was all true, the market still corrected itself regardless. They want you to think they have all the power, which in a sense they do. Their power is so deceptive and there's so many lies. People will always lie, but numbers never do. One key takeaway from the Gamestop report is that the shorts haven't covered. In the report, they even said that a short squeeze wasn't responsible for what happened in January. They even said that it wasn't even a gamma squeeze either, and therefore Gamestop and AMC have even more potential if we can enact a gamma squeeze and can enact the short squeeze. If Gamestop can run all the way from $5 to nearly $500, without a gamma squeeze and without a short squeeze, imagine what both Gamestop and AMC can do with both of those and with more FOMO on top of all of that. One way that you could potentially really make a difference is with the new SEC job opening. The Divisions of Examination is hiring a few securities compliance examiner positions. Maybe some apes could force their way into the SEC and actually make some real change from the inside. Alternatively, if working at the SEC doesn't really take your fancy, maybe we could just put some new statues outside on Wall Street. They covered the old bull statue with tons and tons of bananas and erected a new ape statue. I think this is very, very bullish. That ape is literally having a standoff with a bull absolutely covered in bananas. That bull is going to be mincemeat for the apes. Now on top of this, Nancy Pelosi is going to retire at the end of this term. And if so, who will take her place? But more importantly, I wonder why. Well, the Nancy Tracker speculates that Nancy Pelosi announces that she may retire from Congress to focus all her efforts on day trading stocks and drinking wine. With Nancy Pelosi's incredible 700% returns this year, I'm not surprised she fancies to retire from Congress and can spend more time investing in stocks and continue her streak of insider trading. But it does suggest that amid Democrats' contentious negotiations over the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the reconciliation package, the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, was able to distract Capitol Hill reporters for a few minutes with her use of a certain C word. She said, "I just told members of my leadership that the reconciliation bill was a culmination of my services in Congress because it was all about the children." Moments after Pelosi made the comment, a reporter noted that culmination often points to the end of an experience. "Get out of here," Pelosi said to Lars from other reporters. The exchange exemplifies Pelosi's other comments about her potential retirement, a hint chased with a heavy dose of uncertainty. Despite her previous promises to follow House Democrats, it remains unclear whether Pelosi will step down as Speaker at the end of this term, especially because more and more of social media is now focused on her potential insider trading. Now is probably the best time for her to try and retire quietly. But one thing is certain, whenever Pelosi does decide to call it quits, her departure will mark the end of a history-making career for the first woman ever to serve as House Speaker, as well as the beginning of a new era in Democratic politics. A spokesperson for Pelosi said that the Speaker was focused right now on shepherding the infrastructure bill and the reconciliation package across the finish line, but so far it doesn't really seem like she's getting too far with that. We had a huge stalemate earlier this month, which was only resolved days before the US went into default after the Republicans finally agreed to a small debt extension. I also wanted to touch on the AMC weekly chart, which is insanely bullish for two reasons. As you can see, both of these trend lines are setting new higher lows. We've obviously set a new higher low back from August, tracing this trend line upwards. And we're also setting new higher lows all the way back from May, setting those higher lows here and here as well. Interestingly, Bitcoin is also following that similar pattern of setting new higher lows and is on the culmination of breaking past previous all-time highs. Hopefully, AMC is also just around the corner from setting new all-time highs above that $72, $77 mark. And I also want to touch on the wider market as well and talk about the Bank of England chief warning that they will have to act to curb inflation. The governor of the Bank of England warned on Sunday that they will have to act to curb inflationary pressure, making no attempt to contradict financial market moves that have priced in the first interest rate increase before the end of the year. Now, something that I find very, very interesting is that inflation in the UK jumped by only 3.2% in August compared to in the US, where it jumped by 5.4%. But for some reason in the UK, the Bank of England are saying that inflation is too high and they have to act. But over in the US, inflation is normal and not a problem. Speaking from home, the G30 group of central bankers, Andrew Bailey, said inflation in the UK had already risen and would continue rising further in ways that would warrant action to tame medium-term inflation. Ramping up the rhetoric ahead of the budget and the Bank of England's next forecast on November 4th, he signalled that his concerns on inflation during the current energy crisis had increased. The governor stuck by his long-held view that the rise in inflation, which jumped to 3.2% in August, would ultimately be temporary, which is being echoed in the US as well, but noted that large price increases would last well into next year. Now, similarly, I also wanted to touch on Carl Icahn, saying that the market, over the long run, will certainly hit the wall because of money printing. If you don't know who Carl Icahn actually is, he's the founder and controlling shareholder of Icahn Enterprises. He's on the Forbes 400 and has a net worth of either $17 billion or $22 billion, depending on what year you're looking at. He's an activist shareholder or effectively a hedge fund manager for Icahn Enterprises. And he said on Monday that US markets could see major challenges over the long term in the face of excessive money supply and rising inflation. In the long run, we are certainly going to hit the wall, he said. I really think there is a crisis the way we are going, the way we are printing money, and the way we are going into inflation. As a result of the pandemic, the central bank's balance sheet has swollen by more than $3 trillion amid its open-ended quantitative easing program, while the government has allocated over $5 trillion in stimulus to support Americans through the health crisis. Icahn was adamant about not making a market timing call, but he believes one day over the long term, the markets will pay the price for these policies. Guys, be sure to let me know down in the comments below what you think about Nancy Pelosi's resignation and what you think about the Gamestop report, how we're on our own, and how the SEC are also complicit. And if you haven't already, be sure to sign up to Moomoo to get those free stocks, because at the end of the day, everybody loves free money. And as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my others. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.